Mr. Khan, first of all, thank you for your time today. Uh, 3 years ago, you were at North Macedonia now for the also at Prespa for the signing of the Prespa agreement. Did you or anyone in Europe and you expected that 3 years later we will be still waiting at the European door and we will be blocked by Bulgaria?
No, and I have to say, I really regret that this is not the case, but I personally will never give up. And this is why I'm here, and I'm sure that very soon we can overcome the current blocking of the negotiation and really start negotiating. And then I'm pretty sure that North Macedonia will not only catch up, but will be very soon again what it was already 15 years ago, the best pupil in the class.
North Macedonia has been waiting a long time for negotiations, made painful compromises, changed the name, and now and at this time there is a certain amount of disappointment. Is EU losing credibility with these blockages, with this waiting for a long time for the country?
I fully understand ordinary citizens. For them it's difficult to understand where's the problem, and that, for instance, one country, no matter which one, can block a decision of 26 others, because 26 others, like the European Commission, are very much in favor to start negotiations. But these are the rules of the game, and once North Macedonia will be member of this family, of this big family, you would benefit from the same advantages, because this unanimity is very often also seen as a protection for small or medium-sized countries not to be overruled by bigger ones. But sometimes, like it is currently the case, it is so to say against the interest, of course, of another small country. But again, I'm always optimistic, and my optimism was probably part of the success we had so far.
Um, the demands of Bulgaria about identity and Macedonian government says that there are red lines about it. What can you do to avoid these irrational issues, the blackmail on these irrational issues?
I think Ohrid Agreement, Prussian Agreement, Prespa Agreement, all those agreements are proof of political leadership to strike a deal, to have a compromise. And a good compromise is always something where everybody has to give a little bit in order to achieve finally more. And it's also in the interest of Bulgaria to have North Macedonia as a member in the European Union. And I think in general, there's also no doubt on the Bulgarian side that this is an advantage. There is now an issue, and I believe such an issue can only be resolved by politicians, because we are trained to work on a compromise. Experts are good to give us advice, but at the end of the day, it's about leadership. It's about finding a solution which is finally respecting the different red lines, but finding a mutual acceptable solution. And I'm confident, and I also used these days to reach out to different contacts and interlocutors to see, and I see there is movement. So I think it's a question of time.
You mentioned the unanimity. Did maybe Bulgaria official Sofia is abusing these EU instruments with the blockage?
It very often happens, even if we don't like to see it, that so to say a multilateral subject is infected by bilateral issues. That's why the bilateral aspect should not be part of the multilateral negotiations. This has to be sorted out before, and
To be out of the negotiation.
exactly, and it has to be out of the negotiations in a way that it doesn't come back next time when there is again a decision needed where unanimity is, so to say, also needed. So we need to clarify once and forever so that we can all focus on the substance of the negotiations.
What do you think about the Portuguese proposal? Now it's Slovenia who is
Well,
presidency.
it seems that it's a quite reflected and feasible proposal, uh, and seems to be a baseline for discussions. And I'm sure that the Slovenian presidency is picking up. I'm grateful to the Portuguese presidency because one could think that a country being so far away from the region is less knowledgeable, less committed. But also here I have to say they were, and sometimes it's again an advantage if you're a little bit distant because then you are much easier an honest broker. And I think in that Portugal did a good job, and now it's on the Slovenian presidency to pick up. The Slovenes know the region very well. They are now in the second presidency, so they should be able to contribute to a resolution.
Germany is saying that the veto of one member state should be removed from politics of EU. How can be this achieved? Like,
Naja, I have always argued that I accept and understand that at the very beginning of accession negotiation, there should be unanimity, and of course, at the end, when it comes to the final decision, because it's not something if, so to say, you get a new family member. But in between, for the time being, we have up to 200 decisions. And here I don't see the need to have a unanimous decision because it's a process. uh, But at the end of a process, if so to say everything is on the table, if there is a negotiated contract, accession contract, then I still believe it's something so serious that for this unanimity is necessary. But for the whole process, I don't see the need to keep it because it only delays a process.
you were involved back then when you were EU Commissioner for Enlargement in internal processes and the negotiations. How would you assess the situation in North Macedonia today?
Well, I have to say I'm not fully updated because now I'm doing something different. I was very much preoccupied with the budget negotiations and with COVID and all this, and now with the boring procedure. But of course, I'm following as much as possible the situation because, in a way, it's also my baby, and of course, there you have a very strong emotional proximity. And what I said at the beginning of our talk, I think Macedonia, North Macedonia, has all ingredients at hand to catch up and to advance in the negotiations more than maybe others. The important thing is to be again focused also not only on the economic development but also on the entrenchment of the sustainable entrenchment of rule of law. That's really important. But I have confidence that in particular here in North Macedonia there is an understanding for this.
I remember one of your maybe strong messages. It was like this, that you must change your mentality to move forward to EU. Do you still think the same?
I don't know if I would say today mentality, but because you should be proud about your mentality. But what I have meant is here in the region, I said it yesterday and today, there is still this thinking and doing that you have to be the winner, and if you're not the winner, you are the loser. But this is not, so to say, how democracy works. Yeah, because in democracy, at the end of the day, you should find a common ground. Again, it's about a compromise. A compromise should not be seen as something negative, quite the opposite, something positive. It's finally about ownership, that everybody can finally identify him and herself with the result. But if you have the feeling that something is imposed on you, you might have a kind of distance, and you're not so committed to implement and to change things. And in that respect, I have said, and still this is valid, to you have to change not the mentality, but maybe for this a little bit the behavior.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.